So now we're going to get into some of the examples in finding volume of prisms. We'll start with prisms, okay? What is the volume formula for a prism? It's base area times height. It's the area of the base times the height of this prism. So first we have to identify what type of base do we have. Remember, the bases are the two congruent and parallel faces. And if you notice, I'm going to highlight the rectangle there and its congruent parallel face there. Now there are other congruent parallel faces, but I like using the top and bottom as it's easiest to find the height, which the height is the perpendicular distance between them. In this case, what is it? It's 5 here, okay? So we identified our bases as rectangles. So what we need to replace the B here with is the area formula for a rectangle. Now remember, in the notes in the previous video I gave you this little cheat sheet. What is the area formula for a rectangle? Base and height. Base times height. So coming back to this formula, we're going to replace the B part here, understanding that this is the area formula for our rectangular base. Then we're going to take that and multiply it by H, which is, remember, the height of the prism. Right, so let's take this information over here. The volume formula for this particular rectangular prism is base times height of our rectangle, which is, and we're going to multiply that by the height of the prism, which we identified as, and there you go. All you got to do is multiply that out and you get the volume of your rectangular prism. In this case, the volume is 220. 220 what though? Remember, volume's always labeled in cubic units. In this case, the units are meters, so cubic meters. That's the volume of this rectangular prism. Okay? Let's try another one. What kind of prism do we have here? Okay? So bringing up the volume formula once again for a prism, it's base area times the height. So if you name this a triangular prism, well then you know your bases are the triangles here. Right? So we have a triangular base, and we're going to replace that B part with the area formula for a triangle, which is what? Right? So the area formula for this triangle, 1/2 base times height. And then we're going to multiply it again by the height of the prism. What is the height of this prism? What is the perpendicular distance between the two bases? It's going to be 2 here. So let's take all our info and plug it into our formula. 1/2 times the base of the triangle and the height of the triangle. Take that and multiply it by the height of the prism, which we said was. And there you go. Everything's in. All you got to do is multiply this out. Now I like to go 1/2 times 12 times 2. What's half of 12? Times 2. Volume here? 12. 12 what though? Again, labeled properly. Cubic centimeters. That triangular prism holds 12 cubic centimeters of volume. Okay? How about a tough one? What kind of a prism do we have here? Excuse me. The shape of our base here is a trapezoid. So we're going to take our volume formula, base area times height, and replace the B part with the area formula for a trapezoid, which is what? Okay, let's take that back to our formula. So replace the B part with 1/2 times the quantity base 1 plus base 2 times that by the height of the trapezoid. Notice what the height looks like. We're going to take all of that and multiply it by the height of the, remember that's the height of the prism. Okay? Let's take care of all this first with our trapezoid here. Let's do it to the right here. So 1/2. What are the two bases in our trapezoid? Now if you remember from previous sections, the bases are the parallel sides. So what's the length of one of the bases and what's the length of the other base? Okay? So I'm going to put those here and here. And now what is the height of the trapezoid? What is the perpendicular distance between those two bases? There you go. It's 3. Times all of that by the height of the prism. What is the height of the prism? What is the perpendicular distance between the two bases? In this case, it's 5. Everything is plugged in. Let's work this out. Order of operations says I have to add 14 and 6 first. And I'm going to go ahead and take half of 20, which is, right? So that's 10 times 15, which is 150. Again, label it properly. 150 what? Cubic centimeters.